So hi and welcome to this another episode with me आशीष। और एपिसोड के साथ में आपके सामने हूँ। आई थिंक आप बहुत सारे ऐसे वीडियोस देख रहे हैं जहाँ पे आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग आउट पीपल फॉर यू व्हिच मेक योर क्वेश्चंस गिव यू आंसर्स जो आपके दिमाग में बहुत ज्यादा आते हैं अगर आप एमबीए प्लान कर रहे हैं। I have somebody with me and I'll ask Lakshya to introduce yourself so that we can proceed with the questions. Yeah, Lakshya, over to you.
First off, thanks a lot for having me here, folks. Great to be a part of this series that you're focusing on. So I think quickly about myself, I am Lakshya Kumar, as Arshi mentioned. I am currently working for a consulting firm, and prior to that, I was doing my MBA from a college called IIM Calcutta. I scored 99.99 percentile in CAT, and I was the All India non-engineering topper as well for that year. I have mostly lived my life around Delhi, so was doing my undergrad as well from University of Delhi, Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. So that's pretty much sums up my life up till now.
कि हम एक expectations लेके MBA करने जाते हैं। अब MBA हो गया, now there's this one question: life after MBA. I mean, I think it's already more than a year you're working in a consulting firm, and that too among top consulting firms. A lot of aspirants, either they are from tier 1 colleges or tier 2 colleges, they also have the top preference कि मुझे consulting में job करनी है। वो एक होती है expectation जब आप MBA के लिए गए, when you was like entering into IIM Calcutta, you have certain expectations, और एक होती है reality, life after MBA. So how's the life after MBA, right? From IIM Calcutta. Yeah.
Yes. So I think this is again a fair question on this one. So whatever expectations I had for consulting up till now, it has been true to whatever I was expecting. Now what I implied by that was, I'll break it down to 2 parts, 3 parts actually. One is the work that I do there. Second is the lifestyle that I have. And third is the people that I get to meet while I'm working, right? So in terms of the work that I do as a consultant, you're sort of called the doctor for a business, right? So whenever there's a CXO level issue or a CEO priority issue, you are sort of called in to help them out, right? This is what I was expecting to be before I was a consultant as well. Like when I joined in IIM Calcutta, I thought I'd try to make it to one of the top consulting firms, right? Which fortunately came true for me. And I was expecting this sort of a work. Like I wanted to be in a position that I could interact with CXO on, let's say, a daily basis or a weekly basis, right? And I'm trying to solve problems for them. So this actually is true in terms of what you expect out after campus life as well, right? In terms of lifestyle, yes, there are perks attached to consulting. You do stay in 5-star hotels. You do have a lot of amenities and luxuries that you can think of, because the main focus of the company, which is the consulting company, is that you have to work. Rest of it will take care of it, right? And third part was working with the sharpest of minds. Yes, you do work with the sharpest of minds. You were studying with the sharpest of minds, and when you come to these companies, there are folks from all the colleges in Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, and whatnot. All these sharp brains put together to solve problems. So I think most of it, I'll say, I think nearly 80% of the whatever expectations I had, they do hold true in the after MBA life as well for a consultant, right? And I think I'm answering from a consulting perspective because I am working in consulting, but I think from a general know-how of other fields, be it marketing, be it investment banking, whatever basic statements, let's say working on a very complex job with the sharpest of minds, that has been holding true for most of my friends as well. So I think there's not much variance in what you are expecting and what you're actually living, right? So let's not fret about that part.
Yeah. तो एक और क्वेश्चन है जो आई थिंक बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स पूछते हैं, when they opt for specialization, right? जैसे हम MBA की जब बात कर रहे होते हैं, everybody want to get into IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta. The same way, जब हम jobs की बात कर रहे होते हैं MBA के बाद, consulting is always the most preferred jobs. So they ask this question कि which specialization should I opt for कि अगर मुझे consulting में जाना है, right? वैसे तो I know this answer, I told them, but I think coming this answer from somebody like you will be a perfect answer to all of them. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, perfect. No, I think I don't know what Arshi has given you as an answer, but I'll tell you my answer. I'm sure this would be a reiteration of whatever she has told you. The domain does not matter, folks, right? Like I was telling you from the beginning itself, man. Like if you're an engineer, if you're not an engineer, if you specialize in operations, finance, human resources, marketing, the consulting companies take people from all walks of life. What they care about is whatever you have been doing, were you good at it or not? Let's say if you were a fashion model, did you actually perform? Did you actually win certain things or not? And I keep on repeating these things because I have actually, one of my managers was a fashion model when she was doing. So we have folks who were CAs as well. There were folks who were finance folks as well. Whatever walk of life they were a part of, whatever specialization they were doing, have they performed well in that or not, right? For that matter, I think most of IIMs, when I say most of IIMs, I mean ABC, LIK, I think the specialization factor has been removed from them. So we don't specialize in finance or marketing. We just have an MBA degree, right? But in case there are certain colleges which have specialization, let's say finance, marketing, ops, doesn't matter. Just be best at whatever you do. Let's say if you're doing ops, be one of the top scorers, perform well in the art the societies, be a POR holder, a position of responsibility holder, and do some extra corrects, and you will get through a consulting shortlist.
Yeah, moving to the next question. Abhi humne baat ki all the perks, good things. You said that, whatever I was expecting, 80% was like fulfilled after, my MBA. But बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज है जो हम नहीं देखते हैं, which is, my king said कि ये भी एक phase है, ये भी एक चीज है, but we need to understand it's not only about, having all the good things, having all the perks. So, Aman, what do you want to say on that?
Definitely. I think a thing that we always sort of ignore for that matter is the learning curve here. Right. What I imply by that is, let's say when I was talking about, hey, it's a very fancy thing. I go to a CXO or a CEO and tell him or her as to what needs to be done. But you have to imagine from this perspective that the CEO or CXO has been there in the industry for the past 30 odd years. And you are a 24, 25-year-old fresher who has been trying to advise them. So there's always a learning curve. When I say a learning curve, you might be the brightest mind of IIMs, right? Yet, when you join a consulting company, you have to start from scratch. You have to build that consulting toolkit. When I say consulting toolkit, I mean things like how do you communicate, right? When you are answering a question, how do you answer it? When you're making a presentation, what needs to be put in first? What needs to be coming in second, right? And these are basic things which you tend to ignore. Hey, I learned that. But these are things which come in handy when you're presenting. When you have a 1-minute job just to present, you cannot falter in that, right? That's why you're being paid the big bucks, right? And that is a learning curve. I think everyone goes through it. Everyone learns that. And this is one aspect of the consulting life which people tend to forget maybe in their MBA life. But as soon as they join in, they are prompted this quick realization that, hey, you need to learn all this stuff before actually going to one of the top CXOs and telling them, you need to run your business this way. You have to have that problem solving aptitude, right? And this builds, I'm not saying that it will not build for you. Don't need to work on it right now. It will build when you join a consulting firm. There are multiple resources at firms which help you build that, right? So don't worry about that right now, but be ready for something to learn. So it's a big learning curve. You learn about industries, consulting toolkit. So you will have something to look forward in terms of learning as well.
My next question is a day in a life of consultant.
I think as a consultant, I need to answer it depends. Now, when I say it depends upon the study you're working on. So as a consulting firm, we do multiple types of studies, right? When I say multiple types, it includes a strategy study. It includes an implementation study. There are multiple types of study. Strategy studies are generally tend to be shorter in nature. Let's say a quick 2-3 month piece where you're tending to advise, just advising. Implementation studies, let's say a 2-year long or 1-year long study where you're strategizing for them and also implementing. So let's say 3 months of strategy plus 1 odd year of implementation, right? It depends upon which phase of life you are at. But in general, I think if I was a consultant, I will tell you life sort of begins around 9:30, 10 a.m. depending upon which clientele you're working with, which people you're working with. But it's very flexible, I think. It's very flexible in terms that consultants really regard the fact that you as an individual need not be in sync with the rest of your team always and always. There are folks who are morning folks, there are folks who are night folks. It's okay. You can be a night folk, you can work up till late at night. There are people who have their families, they don't want to work till late at night. They want to end their day early, right? So consulting firms in general have this flexibility as well. Right. So generally day starts around 10. You sort of figure out things as to what needs to be done as a priority for that day and for a 1-month output. Right. So I think every month or every 2 weeks or so, we have a meeting with the CEO, right? Which is called a steering committee meeting, which is a big meeting, right? So we're preparing for that meeting. We're trying to implement that. So your first step 1 is you figure out what the problem is. Step 2, which can be a part of your day, is understanding from both the management and the client and also the market to understand what is the solvable answers to the problem. And then third step is testing out those solutions, which happens in the later half of the journey. So this is more or less the life of consultant. It's a very broad answer. It does not specifically answer what time we close, what time we don't close, because there's no specific answer to that. I might be closing at 6 p.m. Monday. I might be closing at 1 a.m. Monday as well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. You have a work stream you have to close, you close that. You're sort of the owner of that work stream.
Okay. So I think, I think last ke kuch questions bache hain, and I think this is one of the most important questions, that how somebody can get into consulting, top consulting firms. Let's say you have completed your MBA from IIM Calcutta. Her student at IIM Calcutta was not able to make it into consulting. That is also one thing. You are into that top college list, then also, there are certain things what you need to work on if you want to get there. And secondly, there are a lot of aspirants who might not able to make it into all those top colleges, but still, dreaming to get into consulting firms. Over to you.
Yeah, I think as you broke down the question, I also break down my answer in 2 parts. So one would be if you are, let's say, in the top colleges, right, wherein McKinsey or any consulting firm for that matter officially comes, right? So what do you need to do then? And versus, let's say, you're not a part of the college wherein these top consulting firms actually come on campus for campus recruitment, right? I think when it's a campus recruitment, it's slightly easier for you. When I say easier, there's a set process, right? You have to apply for that company. You have to go through the interviews and then make it. Right? I think what needs to be kept in mind specifically, if you're about top campuses, is that you need to talk to multiple seniors, right? The second years who are your seniors have gone through that phase, know how points in your CV should be worded, right? Because it's, let's say, consulting companies for that matter are always known to like numbers. So your CV points have to be very number oriented. It cannot be that, hey, I helped build this model. It has to be that I saved this much amount of money by building this model. So this is the sort of a CV line format that goes, right? So you have to talk to your seniors. That's the most important thing. You have to also understand and start preparing for consulting questions. When I say consulting questions, post you get a shortlist, it doesn't matter which domain you're a part of. You have to work on something called case studies, right? You have to start solving case studies. Case studies are like 20-minute, 30-minute long question format things. Let's say one of your client is facing a loss for the past 1 odd year. How do you help them? Right? So these are case studies which are generally solved during the interviews. So one, talk to your seniors. Second, start preparing for case studies. Right? So these two broad advices. I think apart from that, it's mostly about just following whatever the placement cell of your college has put in as a process. I think you will get through it, right? And the CV is one of the important aspects as well. To folks who are, let's say, not a part of the campuses where these top consulting companies come, right? How do you make it to these top consulting companies, right? One aspect is that most of these top companies, the consulting companies, have their applications open year round. When I say applications open, I mean, if you go to the website, let's say xyzcompany.com recruitment, you can apply for that specific job online. I think that's open all the year round. And that's what my understanding of it is. That's one aspect of it. Second, what you can also do is talk to folks on LinkedIn, try to understand from them if they know that the firm has a requirement. I think LinkedIn is a very open platform. It's something that gets you in with a lot of folks. Like, talk to them as to if they can refer your CV or not, right? So these are two parts. So an online application and a CV referral, I think these two opportunities will get you there. That's one part of it, right? The second part of it is that, let's say if a college which is not one of the top colleges where these companies don't end up coming, what you can do is work for a couple of years, let's say 1 or 2 odd years, and then try switching top consulting companies like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all these companies, because they are hiring laterals as well. Laterals are folks who have worked in different domains and now switching to consultants, right? So this is also one of the options out there.
Okay, I think I'm done with all my questions. One last question: any suggestion, whatever you want to give it to the aspirants, so that we can just wind up this session for all of them? Yeah,
definitely. I think my quick suggestion, I think from my end, would be that, folks, it's important to work hard in this domain. Now, when I say work hard, it means that when you're scoring, let's say, a 98 percentile, the difference between a 98 to 99 is much less than, let's say, a difference between 99 to 99.5. What I imply by that is, for every 0.1 percentile, you need to work much more harder. It's exponential, right? So you need to account for that. You should not be just happy with whatever percentage you're getting right now, but every 1 odd percentage that you want to increase, the difference is much harder, and hence you need to work much harder to achieve that domain, right? And it is applicable not just for CAD, but also, let's say, if you are doing your MBA within that IIM life as well, IIM calculator life as well, you have to work harder to achieve your goals. It might not be just academic goals, it can be anything else, social goals, job goals, whatnot, but you need to work hard for that, right? So you cannot slack off even if you are in the top colleges. You cannot slack off even if you are in top firms, because you need to keep on improving yourself. There's a learning curve for everything out there. So you need to start developing. You need to work hard for that. So I think my advice to all the aspirants in general would be, folks, stay committed to whatever goal you promised yourself, and let's not slack off on that, right?
Okay. Thank you so much, Lakshya, for your time. I think I'm done with my questions, and yeah, it was lovely interacting with you. I mean, I think I've gone through your complete journey from, IIM Calcutta to, working with top consulting firms. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah.
No, thank you, Arshi, for having me here. Hope this was helpful for the aspirants.
Okay.
Thank you.